This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This table is really tilted.
Excuse me? Am I gonna get a chance to speak?
Maybe I should take that back.
Denied. Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Take a giant step for mankind.
Welcome to the Tilted Table with your hosts, Sean and Joe.
That's right, yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, folks, welcome to the Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I am Sean Landon Clark.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac.
Yeah, boy. Yes.
I'm excited about your idea for today's episode.
Yeah, so today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about reality shows that we think should be created. Mm-hmm. Some could be serious. I think at least the ones I'm thinking about they would actually never happen, but if they did, they'd be super fucking cool. So yeah, we're just, reality TV is still the most dominant thing on television. I think it's one of the few things left, and I know why they love reality TV. It's a simple formula. They bring these people on to do whatever the show is. It doesn't matter what it is, and they don't have to pay these people anything, and they get high ratings, and so they get all this advertisement money, but they don't have to pay anybody. So versus like a regular TV show, let's say, I don't know, use Law and Order, you got to hire actors and they're going to want contracts and you're going to be paying them a bunch of money. Mm-hmm. So yeah, reality TV is kind of a sweet gig for the networks.
Well, it's I would say I watch basically zero TV outside of football. But Cookie is a huge like Housewives, Kardashians, the other bucket one where they own a nightclub.
I have no idea. I do
Vanderpump.
not watch TV.
Yeah, it literally as soon as one of those shows pops on the TV screen in the living room, I'm up and out of the couch.
Yeah,
but yeah, I totally get it because they've got their own following. Shoot, a year and a half ago we flew to Las Vegas so she and a friend could go to BravoCon.
Oh my God.
Yes, because she wanted to go see like her favorite people from the different things. So yeah, not only is reality TV going strong, like there's a whole cottage industry that surrounds all of that.
Sure. What I'd like to start is, I don't really watch reality TV. I mean, I don't say I really don't watch. I don't watch it, but I have seen a lot of reality TV. The first being Survivor was the first real popular one. I think that came out like in 98, 99. So we're looking at 25 years of dominance, this type of format. So where I would like to start is it a reality TV show that you actually liked or saw and watched?
Oh, man. Years and years ago, was it the Jamie Kennedy Experiment?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or there was also the one with Robin Big. Rob Dyrdek, the skateboard guy on MTV.
Ridiculousness. Isn't that what he hosts now?
Yes, yeah. But Robin Big, I loved watching that show.
I remember the name. I never saw it.
Mm-hmm. So. It was cool. It was watching two buddies hang out, get into shenanigans. There was always laughs and everything. Like it was awesome.
So is it like pranking people?
This is probably back in like 2010-ish. So they had like an indoor warehouse they turned into as like a skate park.
Okay, no, I do remember this. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and it was like, there was the cousin Drama who wanted to be a rap artist, but not very talented. But
so it wasn't a prank show. It was just them in their skate.
It was just them like
warehouse
hanging out. And, people would pop by and you watch the interactions and whatnot. Like,
sure.
But ever since then, I personally haven't watched any reality TV. Like I say, Cookie's the one that's like, she watches all of that.
Oh, okay. My favorite reality TV show, and the only one I thought was legitimate reality TV, was the Joe Schmo Show.
Never heard of it.
Okay, so they've done this a couple of times. So they've rebooted it, I think, 2 or 3 times. But the original one, I would say, was 2002, 2003-ish, somewhere in there. So the concept of the show is they create a reality TV show called The Lap of Luxury.
Okay.
And it's a typical show where a bunch of people move into a house and the winner gets a bunch of money.
When was this show on?
I'd say about 2002, 2003.
Okay.
So and they have to do a bunch of challenges, and they vote each other off and whatnot, and then the winner gets a bunch of money at the end. The thing was with the show was only one person doesn't know that the rest of the cast are actors hired to play a specific role, like the dumb chick, the asshole guy, the hick, that kind of thing.
Right.
So while all these people are in this house, one guy thinks this is the lap of luxury. The actual show is called the Joe Schmo Show. He's the schmo. He's the only one that thinks this is a real reality TV show, and they create scenarios to put him through a bunch of shit. Of course, he's ultimately going to win the show, but it's all scripted that way, and he has no idea that he's the schmo. And I thought that was like the only real reality show, because it is a show where one guy really doesn't know what's going on. Everything else is scripted to create the series itself. Where obviously most reality TV show is heavily scripted. They force people into situations. Everyone kind of knows what's going on. This is the one time where somebody really honestly has no clue that he's not on a real reality show, but believes he is. So it ran for one season, and I think it did fairly well. Mm-hmm. They tried it a second season, but the problem is the person they were schmoing figured it out about halfway through, so they had to scrap it.
Oh, okay.
And then I know they rebooted it, I think maybe, I know at least 2 times, and they may have rebooted it a third time. I have not seen the reboots. I don't know how good they are. And then at this point, I would even question whether the schmo knows or not. Like, we create the Joe Schmo Show, and we'll tell the schmo what's going on, and everybody's acting it out. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
There was another program that was just like that a couple years ago, where it was like I forget the name of it, but there was a jury.
Yeah, that's a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then everybody's hired except for one person who thinks they're really on a jury.
Yeah, so there you go. That's the same concept. I have seen the advertisements for that. I was semi-interested in that. Mm-hmm. So I guess for me, reality TV only is good if it's in that format where somebody doesn't realize that this is all a setup. So,
well, when it comes to a reality TV program that you think should be created, like, tell me the first one that popped in your head.
Okay, so this is one, again, you're going to figure out why I came up with this idea for the show. So obviously they couldn't do this, but they should do this. They should have a reality TV show where people go to football games wearing opposing teams' jerseys, but the people that are wearing the opposing teams' jerseys are MMA fighters.
Okay.
Specifically Philadelphia games where someone's going to talk some mad shit.
Man. Philadelphia fans are the worst. The worst.
As a Raiders fan, I'll concur with that. And I've been to a lot of Raider games, and their fans are, degenerates in a lot of ways, but you can't even top Philadelphia fans are the worst people.
It was, and we'll get right back to this topic at hand, but I think I mentioned earlier during the playoffs when Philadelphia played the Packers, and there's the one dude who was like berating the lady that was a Packers fan and got banned for life, and he got fired from his job a week later for it. Did he have like a fairly professional job, like a banker? Oh yeah, or something? He was like managed a hedge fund or something, like big money type of gig. Right. But as soon as I saw that clip, I made a comment. I'm like, that dude sums up everything about being an Eagles fan.
Well, what surprises me, and I know that obviously people are different when they're on the job, but every time I think of somebody who would go sideways on somebody at a football game, I just envision that they're just like low intelligent, knucklehead, meatheads, whatever you want to call them, douchebags, and probably work some construction job or some bullshit fucking job. When you find out, like, oh, this guy's manages a hedge fund, I'm like, dude, you have to be relatively smart to do this kind of shit. You would assume that those aren't the people that are going to just go absolutely fucking sideways on opposing fans at a football game. But that's the power of sports. It's it's very tribal. It's almost like a gang.
Religious.
Yeah. And so when I found that, I'm like, this guy, a hedge fund man, I knew he had a professional job, and I was just like, what the fuck? Like, dude, I mean, like, after you do this, you actually get up the next day and go to a job where you have to, obviously have some level of intelligence, professionalism.
Diplomacy.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, it just blows my mind, so kind of shattering the myth that the people that start the fights are just a bunch of, low class, morons
That would be pretty darn funny, though. Send an MMA crew in to basically ghost ride the whip. That's fantastic. That is a good idea. What would you name it?
You know what? I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if I'm that fast on my feet. So I don't know what.
Like bleacher creatures or something? Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. What do they call it? Is there a word for people who attend games in another team in the other team's jersey? I mean, you can call them visitors. We call the show the visitors.
I think like over in England, don't they refer to them as hooligans?
Well, hooligans are the ones that start the fights.
Okay.
Right. So I was since it's the visiting team, I'd call the show the visitors.
There we go.
Yeah, maybe that's the best.
Molotov cocktails are optional. Well, it's funny. The one that popped into my head, and I thought about, and then I was like, oh, well, they kind of did a movie about this one. Is Cookie and I are really into wine, not as much as I used to be. Like, I don't know if I ever shared with you. I audited the Masters in Champagne course of the French Wine Society, so so I was all about that game, and I definitely know more about wine than the average bear. But what I thought would be really fun is, back in 2012, there was a movie called Somm.
Okay.
Which basically followed wine professionals who were studying for the Master Somm exam. Oh. And it was kind of a peek behind the curtain. Super fascinating. I loved it.
Okay.
But my idea for a reality show is, not maybe at that elitist type of level, but, there's all these different wine regions around the world, but take maybe average people or even people that are sort of into it, and kind of highlight a region, highlight different wineries in the region. But, when they're not professional and you're throwing a bunch of alcohol at people, things are going to happen.
Yes.
So I think it would be really cool educationally. I think it'd be a cool, tourist deal because, what goes with wine? Food. You get to have, the whole foodie aspect. What do people do when they're, having a great meal? They're also drinking. Yes. So I think there's some great material in there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And for our 3 listeners out there, including my mom, I'm totally trademarking that one.
You should. I'm trademarking every idea I come up with. And I'm putting it out there. See, we timestamp it when we upload it. So if you come out with that idea, we'll just go back and say you stole it from us because you did.
Yeah.
This is what you did.
But I think in terms of reality TV and what I'm not really a confrontational person. So when my wife watches Real Housewives and they're throwing dinner plates at each other, I don't understand how listening to people argue and scream and scratch each other's eyes out as entertainment and or relaxing. But I do think one of my favorite acronyms is CFS, Cat Frank Sam, which stands for Conflict for Sport.
Okay, well,
and I think that type of environment is definitely some great CFS.
Yeah, and obviously drama sells, and that's why these shows sell. Yeah. I can't stand it either. I find these types of shows extremely irritating, and it's the same thing over and over again. And I don't know how many times I can watch people scream and yell at each other, and then they sit in their little booth and they have a little interview going, if Darcy does that again, we're gonna have a real problem because I'm getting sick and tired. I just want to just put my head through a fucking window when I hear shit like that. I don't care.
I was actually, Cookie and I were in the background of a reality show back in 2016, totally unwittingly.
Oh.
So I'll give you the quick 50-second story. It was a great day, and it was just one of those kind of wacky things that happened during the day. And for my birthday, I wanted to go to an event called CatCon, the largest cat person convention in the United States.
Oh my God.
And afterwards, we were walking downtown Pasadena, and I Googled wine shops or wine place near me, and fast forward a block away, I knock on the door of this wine place, and the blinds are closed, and the door, I kind of push on it, it's open, but somebody's standing in front of it and won't let me in. So I knock on the door again, and this dude pokes his head out, and he's like, "Hey, do you guys want to be on a TV show?" I'm like, "Can I drink?" "Yeah, you can totally drink. Just you can't really be loud or anything, but do you want to be on a TV show?" And I'm like, "Sure." So it was we opened the door, and in this wine shop was all of the cameras and boom microphones and movie crew and everything. And they were shooting, it was Rica Famosa Latina, rich, famous Latin women, I guess.
Okay.
And it's their version of the Real Housewives of Mexico City or something. And so, yes, it's totally all scripted. Cookie and my sister-in-law were like, "Oh, we want to, Joe, you sit there. That way we can watch everything." I'm like, "No problem. I have no interest in what all these broads are doing." But yes, definitely that was also some CFS.
Cool. I'm going to bounce back to your wine reality show. And you said you saw, obviously based off this documentary, at least inspired by this documentary. And I do not, if you say yes or no, I just want to leave it at that because otherwise we'll be off topic. Have you ever seen the documentary Sour Grapes?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Love it. I've
Yeah.
seen it probably, I'm not exaggerating, 20 times.
I've seen it, I think 3 times. Yeah.
awesome.
If you've never seen it, you should watch it. And I'm not a wine person. I don't drink wine. I'm an absolute stone cold drunk, and I still won't touch wine. So even if you're not interested in wine at all, the wine culture and the people that buy high-end bottles of wine, that's absolutely fascinating.
100%.
Yeah, so I dig that documentary. I'm like, holy shit! It's just like, and I think that we were talking. God, now we're going off topic. We were talking about earlier, like all the different things I seem to find on YouTube. I am fascinated by subcultures, and there's so many ways to find them on the internet. Like, wow, these people actually exist. So, anyways, I'm gonna dip into my next reality show idea. I actually wrote a short story based on this idea. And so I wrote this probably 15 years ago. So the reality show would work like this. It would be a Jeopardy style quiz show.
Okay.
Right. And
Are you the host?
I am not the host. I couldn't get Ken Jennings to do this, or who's the Mayim Bali Chick or whatever her name is, it Blossom.
Duke Cat Williams.
Yeah, Cat Williams would be great for this one. So the concept of the show is you would have this quiz show. I would style it like Jeopardy. But instead of people, answering questions for money and the most points or money wins, it would actually be 2 people who are getting divorced, and instead of playing for money, they actually play for their own shit. So
Wow, well done.
that would be.
I'm sad about the divorce piece for those people, but what a great idea.
Yeah. So instead of going to the typical court system where you have to fight and divvy up everything, you would go on to this show and. It'd start with the low-level stuff, like, I'm sure furniture and silverware, and it slowly builds up to, like, cars and bank accounts, and then ultimately the house. And then, of course, in my story, because it's fiction, the, final Jeopardy would be custody of the kids.
Wow.
With the guy purposely answering wrong.
Oh,
Who is the first president of the United States? Ding, 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 ding. George Bush. Oh, she gets the kids.
Yeah. Wow. That's a
guess
great
I'm stuck
idea.
with the house.
That's a great idea.
So I wrote a short story.
Clever.
Yeah, I wrote a short story based on this idea. And and so the final Jeopardy was custody of the kids. And I definitely leaned into a lot of satire. I think maybe was inspired a little bit by Kurt Vonnegut when I wrote this, just, sort of dystopian future of where reality TV could go.
Sure.
Yeah, and so that was about 15 years ago, and it hasn't quite gotten there yet. But sometimes when I hear these concepts for shows, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me! It's getting there.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Leave a like on the video. I know you're enjoying this. Can you shut up?
The internet's answer to a question that was never asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you're familiar with a reality show called MILF Manor.
Never heard of it.
Oh my God! This is again the level of debauchery that producers and network television people are willing to throw out there just to make a buck. So MILF Manor, I'll give you the concept. So MILF Manor is a bunch of single older women in their 40s and 50s.
Cougars.
Yeah, cougars, and of course they all look like you think they would look for a reality TV show. Heavily surgically enhanced and very. Pretty, I would say older women, but definitely, very LA-ish, Los Angeles style. So they're put on this, resort, and they're going to bring in a bunch of young guys, and then, of course, the matchmaking happens as they live at this, at this estate during the show. Well, here's the twist.
Side note: is this a real show?
This is a real show.
Oh wow! Okay.
Okay. So yes, I'm not creating this. I wish I would have thought of this. I'd be much richer. So the young men that they bring in, the twist is all the young men are their sons. So they have to deal with their sons hooking up with these other women that they're in competition with Oh God, I watched 2 episodes of this because I was so fascinated. Like, this has to be just an absolute shit show, and it is exactly what I thought it was. And but again, even as cool as that idea is, because I'm into, like, if you're gonna do a reality TV show, like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, to me, fucking boring, you know. And most reality shows like Survivor, boring, not interested. That concept, I think I would, I'd be attracted to it. I had to watch at least 2 episodes, but it still fell into a lot of the typical tropes of reality TV. And I just, after 2 episodes, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I got it. You know, the initial shock of like, oh, it's our kids. Oh my God, I don't know if I want my son here hooking up with all these women. So, and then I got old after 2 episodes. I'm like, I'm done. But a couple of my friends who are reality TV junkies, I told them about it. And like, I've never heard of it. And they love it. They're just all about it. Like, and they did do a second season. Now there is a twist in the second season, but I can't. I'm sure I was told what it was, but I don't remember what it was. But that's a real show. I did not. That's not my idea.
Man, that's like.
I wish it was my idea.
If Jerry Springer's show birthed another show, that would be it.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So going back to my wine background. There's an app. Well, there's an app for this, but there's an auction house called Hart Davis Hart, HDH. Okay. And so this started about like 10 years ago, where fine wine auctions, they would just stream online or through this app. And then it's really dangerous because it's linked to your PayPal account.
Oh God.
And so you could, they're based out of Chicago. And so with the time change, like I could be getting ready in the morning and on the iPad be watching these auction lots happening, and then it'd be like, oh, that looks good, tap tap tap. But I never bought anything, because a lot of this stuff is like I'm going to give a really extreme example, but they'll say, hey, we're selling, one of the most famous wines in the world is Domaine Romani Conti, DRC is what they call it, the actual vineyard Romani Conti. And I mean, a 3-pack will set you back like, up to $100,000 for just 3 bottles. And I'm always like, who are and it'll sell out in a hurry. It'll be a bidding flurry from Singapore all the way to Saudi Arabia for people trying to get this 1 3-pack. And I'm like, what a great, background of these people that are actually bidding on it. I wonder if you could maybe follow like each of those individuals. 'Cause I mean, if you got that kind of loot, I'm sure the rest of your life is pretty interesting. Yeah. I think that would be like wine auction participant type of deal. Yeah. Well, again, it goes back to some like a subculture, and I think that would definitely be something that you could lean on. And again, reality TV show doesn't have to be the stereotypical competition, where right. It's more of like a real life documentary, kind of like you mentioned Sour Grapes, and the fact that there's these people that are doing this, Hart Davis Hart type of deal, and then meeting with other like minds and back rooms of restaurants. Yeah. With special menus and special bottles, and they got all their Bugattis parked out front. Like, I think that would be a really cool show to tune into. Yeah, I guess you look at reality TV, it can cross over very quickly into a documentary style, where we're not shoving a bunch of people into a space and making them interact. We're just following the subculture of something that maybe people really don't know about. And they're very fascinating, because that's the one thing about Sour Grapes that caught me, was just the whole high-end wine collector subculture. And you realize like how deep it is, how expansive it is. And like, wow, these people exist. And I know they do exist. I knew before I saw Sour Grapes that people buy expensive wines and they drink them and they have auctions. But I'd never thought too much about like, well, what is this culture really like? And I don't think you think it's fascinating until you start to get, a look into it. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh shit, this is insane. This is crazy. It's like having, almost PhD level experience. And my 40-second story is I was in a really serious wine group for a number of years. And I walked and I had to interview for the wine group, meaning I had to give a presentation on my area of expertise. I had to a panel. Then I had to get interviewed by the panel. Then I had to turn over an Excel spreadsheet of our whole wine collection, because, you don't want to make sure this person's drinking good stuff. So, yeah, I think the people that are into that, I mean, you're talking about regions, subclimates, I think it's really fascinating. Yeah. It's interesting because I just saw a video on YouTube, and I'll send it to you, and I may have talked to you about this. It's a subculture of people who are into dead stocks.
And
yeah,
and it's just this. I don't know if I can explain this. It's just so hard to explain. But it's these people that got locked in it. It seemed to start with GameStop. So I don't know if you know the whole story with GameStop, which was the stock is failing, and it was being shorted by hedge fund managers. And again, I don't want to get into a whole explanation of what that means.
That's its own episode.
Yeah. So, but essentially, for people that don't know, when people short a stock, you're betting that the stock fails. Well, a bunch of people on Reddit and the internet groups got together, led by one guy, and said, start buying GameStop stock, which drives the price up, and it fucks over the people that are shorting it, which are usually hedge fund managers. Again, it's kind of small guy fighting against the rich guy.
Robin Hood.
Yeah. And so this was the thing that happened, and GameStop, I think at one point hit like $200 a share. Hedge fund people that were shorting that stock lost billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars.
Stick it to the man. So when this happened, there was a guy named Ryan Cohen who eventually became the CEO of GameStop. He bought this huge share in the company. And Ryan Cohen is the guy who found Chewy, an online pet food thing. I don't know exactly what Chewy does. It's a pet store thing. And he was viewed as being kind of the rich venture capitalist kind of guy that is for the normal man, right? For the common guy. And so he takes over GameStop, and he does all this stuff to try to keep the company going. Eventually, he also bought a ton of shares or stake in Bed Bath & Beyond when that started failing. And since so many people had missed the GameStop explosion, a bunch of people started buying Bed Bath & Beyond thinking, this is Ryan Cohen's new thing, and he's going to, rebuild this company. So at the time, the stock was probably $4 or $5 a share. Again, Bed Bath & Beyond was failing. It was going to go out of business, go bankrupt. He takes it over. He starts putting out all this information about what he's going to do to it, and we're going to rebuild it. And just more people were buying into it. All the same people that were in the GameStop arena, thinking that we're going to fuck over the hedge fund guys because everyone had shorted Bed Bath & Beyond, and they were going to do the same thing they did with GameStop. So this does happen, and it starts to climb. And then at one point, Cohen was sending out all these kind of cryptic tweets when people would criticize Bed Bath & Beyond. And all these tweets were, it seemed to suggest that, like, it ain't over yet. We're going to rebuild this company. That means more of these people were buying into it, and it drives up the stock. And at some point, he puts out some kind of quarterly report of some sort, and it shows that he is absolutely committed that we're going the distance. I'm behind this company 100%. We're going to rebuild it, and we're going to do another GameStop kind of situation, right? And that drove the stock up to, I think, $30 a share. Going in 1 month, it went up 400% after he put that out. Then suddenly, Ryan Cohen sells every single share and every piece of ownership he has and walks away, doubling his money. And the stock starts to plummet with all these motherfuckers holding the bag because they all bought into it, following him.
So is the idea a reality show for failures of this?
No. So it goes beyond this. So normally that's the end. So the stock starts to drop. The debt stock subculture are these people that, for whatever reason, whatever stock they get into, they start building conspiracy theories around it. So when Ryan Cohen left, he wasn't, as far as they're concerned, he didn't leave. Because on the same day he sold those shares, he put in for an LLC called Teddy. And then they start crafting the story that, like, oh, he's going to actually do a merger, and all these Bed Bath & Beyond stocks will become this other stock. He's got this, plan, this larger plan, and we're all going to be millionaires because, he would never screw over the little guy because he's all about, the common guy. And as the stock just continues to sink, these subcultures have podcasts, and they become even more dedicated. This is a part of a larger plan. Eventually, the stocks get extinguished. It goes completely bankrupt. They're still out there convinced that there's this larger plan, and anything to do with Bed Bath & Beyond, they're creating all these conspiracy theories. They believe that there's some underground, behind-the-doors thing going on, and Ryan Cohen's going to emerge from the shadows, and ta-da, this is what I'm doing now, and your Bed Bath & Beyond stocks, get to be that stock, and now you're a multimillionaire. And to this day, remember, Bed Bath & Beyond stock went completely extinguished, I think, a year and a half ago.
Okay.
They're completely bankrupt. People lost their shares. Like, you opened up your portfolio in Charles Schwab or TD Waterhouse, wherever you hold your stocks. It's gone. It's off the exchanges. It doesn't exist. They're still convinced, though. And if you go through the interviews with these people, they're relentless. And if you criticize them, they attack you. They're still convinced that there's a larger plan. Man. Yeah, people that are into dead stocks. And they're not the only one. There's other ones. It deals a lot with cryptocurrency too. That people who bought into crypto and got rug pulled, that's what they call it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They pump the stock and they dump it, are convinced that there's something bigger going on, and you just have to wait it out. Even though Ryan Cohen's long gone out of this, and the stock is long gone. Bed Bath & Beyond is long gone. It's like, how long are you going to have this community still sort of support each other and bullshit each other that there's some larger plan, and they look for any little sliver of evidence? One of the things they did I thought was absolutely nuts was Ryan Cohen started writing children's books called Teddy. It's about his dad. It's supposed to be about, kind of pro-capitalism and pro-America type stuff. They were going through the books thinking that Ryan Cohen is sending messages through these children's books. And the people were concocting, like, if you look at page 5 in this children's book and you see this, and then you turn to page 49 and you see, it's just insane. And I'm watching this. There's a documentary. You want to check it out. There's a guy on YouTube. He absolutely makes phenomenal documentaries. His name is James Janney. He's a British guy. So I don't know how to spell Janney, but I think it's Jahni, Janney, something like that. But if you look up James Janney and you spell it incorrectly and you put Bed Bath & Beyond, you'll find him. He does some great ones. He's got the sort of the main documentary about these dead stocks. He does one on GameStop and one on Bed Bath & Beyond. It's absolutely, these people are fascinating.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
They probably have aluminum foil suits.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if you wanted to create a reality show, finding those subcultures and just literally just following them around. But I guess at that point, it's more of a documentary. But it could be kind of a reality show because a lot of these people hang out together. So you would have them in the same spaces, whether it's, on a podcast where they're, joining the panel, or even in physical spaces, because they do hold, like, I don't want to call them conventions, but they get the Bed Bath & Beyond, the investors, even though there's no stock to actually hold anymore, they still think they're invested in it, get together and just let them do their thing. Yeah. It's hilarious.
It's a good idea. My last idea that I had is, so my sister-in-law is a video game character designer, like World of Warcraft type stuff.
Okay.
I think it would be fascinating to, whether it's comics or video games, to where they're like recruiting talent and to actually see there's a colloquialism, like how the stew is made type of a thing.
Sure. Yeah.
Where you're like, you're creating art, you're submitting art, there's the technology aspect, you're living in a collective, not like one of those TikTok houses or whatnot, but I think that would be a really cool idea, to watch an idea start from a sketch and actually end up to a product.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And I think that whole, almost like an industry thing where you watch people start to build something from the ground floor up.
Yeah.
Especially if it's video games. But I know that those video game houses that they have done on social media, YouTube, where, these gamers get together in the same house and live, it hasn't been successful. But that could be because it's not actually produced by, some network.
Is it like the FaZe Clan? Isn't that like one of them or something?
That sounds, familiar. Yeah. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos where they talk about these things and how they haven't been successful. But they may have not been successful because they don't have the backing of like an actual network.
Sure. Well, and I also think I think my idea is more on the creative aspect, on like, we're going to make this game and here's all these people that are going to work together. And you could certainly stick them all in a place. I think what your reference is the end gamer and competing online.
Yeah, that's a different story than people building them and designing them. Yeah.
And I think, because you're going to have musical artists that are part of it, you're going to have like animators that are part of it. My sister-in-law's a graphic illustrator, and then there's somebody that she works with where they actually take the characters that she designs and then models them in 3D.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because I'm coming to the conclusion that I don't watch reality TV because of this and kind of the standard tropes that they put out there. It's the same show over and over again, whether it's The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
Change the name on the door.
Yeah, and it's, people get into whatever house they get into and all the drama starts. But I do think I would like it if it was more like maybe kind of a little more documentary style. But also if it is just an absolutely fucking wild idea. Like MILF Manor to me, like if you're going to do reality TV, you're only going to get my interest if it's some kind of absolutely fucking batshit crazy idea.
Ooh, I have a final one on that batshit crazy idea. So this is like 20 years ago. 2005. I got invited over to a guy's house and he invented the world's very first stripper pole. I'm going to rephrase that. Removable stripper pole.
Okay, removable.
Yeah. And so I walked in the door and there's all these people standing around the kitchen island and all these like removable stripper poles. And there's all these guys walking around with cameras and lighting booms and microphones and everything. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, oh, surprise, man. We didn't tell you. You're going to be a guest on our new show. And I was like, oh no. What is my wife going to say about this?
She'll hit the record button.
But in terms of like, that Jerry Springer like offshoot, I'm like, well, I'm not going to say it's a bad idea because that is, they put one on one of these poles on Oprah's plane.
Okay.
They put one in Paris Hilton's yacht.
Oh God.
Yeah, and it was like, so you could have, I guess, I'm not saying I endorse all of this stuff, but I mean, it does create a pretty good clash of pop culture and maybe the Jerry Springer type shenanigans.
Classic. Sounds a good idea. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's always something, man.
Yeah, it's always something.
Hey, if any of these TV producers out there are listening to the show and you're officially listener number 17, A, welcome, B, call us and we can spitball more ideas.
Yeah, we can sign up with some contracts. Let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah, we're like what are we, fountains of information and disinformation?
Yeah, we're the fountains of information and disinformation.
Pick your poison.
I have an important announcement for you, so stay tuned.
Yo, that's some next level shit, bruh. So you got me. Big deal.
The internet's answer to a question no one asked. The Tilted Table with Sean and Joe.
Folks, thank you for tuning in to another episode of The Tilted Table, the internet's answer to a question that no one asked. I am Sean Landon Clark.
And I am Joey Joe, the Fracky Mac. Like, smash that bell, get all the notifications.
Yeah, this is the real reality show.
Absolutely. Welcome to The Tilted Table.
Peace.